Grand Rising, good people. It's good to talk to y'all. Good to tap in as always. We got a lot to talk about, man. Are we celebrating Zohran? Are we celebrating Zohran? That is the question. I'm over here yelling. Hold on. Hopefully it's coming through. Hopefully it's coming through the way that I would like it to come through. Sometimes we'll see when I don't use the real mic, I don't get any feedback. So what I find myself doing, especially when I wear headphones, is yelling. Matter of fact, I don't even really need the headphones, to be honest. But we'll leave them on anyway. I feel like it helps sometimes with the feedback. But shout out to all y'all. We got Steph Rod in the building. Shout out to Steph Rod. Good morning, Grand Rising, Steph Rod. We got Phyllis. Good luck from San Diego. Accidentally fell asleep early, so I've been up for an hour now. I made it to your live show. I actually saw. Didn't you comment yesterday saying like sometimes it's hard to get up for the live shows? So if that was you, and even if it isn't you, it's good for you to. It's good to see you tapping in early. All good, all good. Shout out to Big Bro Steve in the building, holding it down as always. Good morning to all. Let's make it a great day, because we decide whether or not it's going to be a great day. And it is definitely going to be a great day, because that's the energy that we choose to address the day with, to be intentional with. And we're only surrounding ourselves with people that share in that same energy as well. So obviously that's going to compound. Shout out to Rob. Yes, a plan one. Get ready for Islam jihad. All right. So let me ask you this. So is it safe to say that you're not happy that Zohran won? Actually, yeah. And while you're at that, tell me who you would have preferred to win. Tell me who you would prefer to win. We're going to talk about it, and I think it'll be good. I'm going to go through some of the policies, and I haven't studied the New York City mayoral race. I haven't really studied much of it. Don't know too much about Zohran Mamdani. I saw a little bit of some of the debates between him and Andrew Cuomo. We'll go through it. I don't know. Part of me is disappointed, or part of me was disappointed, because I always associated him with welfare programs. And we've talked about on this show exactly how a lot of those welfare programs, in my opinion, have been used to hold impoverished people back, whether it's the Black community or other communities. But when you look at the social welfare programs and what they do to the communities, the victimhood that they place, does it really help the impoverished people hold themselves to a higher standard and do better? Or does it keep them in that victimhood mentality and give them a comfortable pillow of poverty with a little bit of help from the government, and them not feeling like they got to go get it on their own? So that's kind of the back and forth in my own brain. But then as I was going on, just based on how I was feeling, I was like, we'll see how it goes. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. Shout out to Dr. King, Professor. Good to see your face. Good morning, all. Grand Rising. As y'all are joining, please make sure that you are liking. That's going to help boost the algorithm. Our goal is to get as many different perspectives in the building as possible, so that way we can grow. All right. We can't just grow by being around people that think the way that we think, that have the same experiences that we have, that feel the same things that we feel. We got to expand our horizons. And in this day and age, with platforms like this, there's no excuse not to. All right. Good morning. Good morning, Steph Rod, dancing early in the AM. Morning world from Dwayne. Shout out to Dwayne. Wagwan. I got Queens in the building bright and early as always. Glad not to live in New York. Shout out to Shorty. Yeah, definitely tap. You know what's so dope when you see people tap in, and you, like when I have a conversation with y'all today, for example, and then when I come on tomorrow, I'm going to be very excited to see some of the same people, because it's like an ongoing conversation. And I don't want to say it's easier that way, but it is dope. It is. There's something reaffirming there. So definitely appreciate that. Shout out to Unk in the building. Good morning, one love. We got good morning from the UK. From the UK, we got Bub. Bub saying, good morning, Bub. Where you tapping in from? She's in the bedroom, probably late to the bus. I don't know. Did she make the bus? Did she get out of here yet? Dang, she didn't even give me any love before she left. All right. I'm glad that he won. Good for New York. One love, New York. All right, we're gonna see. Oh, tell me why you're glad. Tell me why you're glad, because we're gonna get into it. We are definitely gonna get into it. So we got some incarcerate tapping in from Thailand. Nighttime for me from Thailand. What made you? Do you live out in Thailand? If so, what made you move out there? Keep up the good work, sir. Let your voice shine. Appreciate that, big bro. Definitely will do so. Good morning, great people. Shout out to Motown Mojo in the building. Motown holding it down. God bless Mon Dummy. Oh, man. All right. I guess you're not a fan. It doesn't help them in the long run. Yeah, it's going to shout out to my brother Bug in the building. Grand Rising. Steph Rod. Yeah. Oh, so you're talking about the social programs, 100%. That's why I hesitate, because usually, and we'll get into this obviously in a little bit more depth, but usually when it comes to the Democrats and the social programs, in my mind, this is how it works. It's like, well, is this person genuine first and foremost? Like the social programs, I already walk into it with a bias that they don't work. That they don't work. And what's funny is I used to walk into it with the emotional aspect first. Now I walk into it from a practical, logical standpoint. Like, does it work? Before I used to walk into it, well, do they care about me? Do they care about impoverished people? And I wasn't impoverished, but do they care about, we just associate, growing up in America, if you're Black, we just associate poverty with Black issues and things of that nature. But neither here nor there. Let me stick to the script. Let me stick to the point. When we talk about politicians and them doing social programs, a huge part of me used to tussle between, well, does this person really care about the community? Because that's what we were brought up on. We were brought up to believe that, oh, Democrats, they care about people. They care about everybody. They care about the poor. They care about the underprivileged. Yeah. And we thought that Republicans, conservatives, they're racist. They don't care about anybody but rich people. All they care about is money. All they're capitalists, right? And you grow up with this very limited scope shaping your perspective on politics. So when it comes to politics now, it's more so for me, like, is this going to work? Like, I don't really prioritize whether or not this person cares about me, likes me. All that stuff is out the window, because in my limited experience, I guess a lot would say, when I look at politics, it's very hard to determine. People can be very good actors, very hard to determine whether or not somebody actually likes you. And that actually compromises our judgment in actually getting things done. So I'm sure on the job, in the workplace, even on certain teams that we've been on, when we like things, what do we typically do? We tend to make excuses for the things that they may do wrong. We tend to over amplify the things that are done right. So that's kind of where my mind is on all that. So Uncle Road, I think once he gets in office, being that he's a socialist, a lot of the programs that we're talking about, he may go around, but I do see your point. Yeah, that's it. But we'll see. The good thing about it is we don't have to panic. We can just wait and see. Maybe that's another thing that I'm learning with politics. Let it play out. Let's see it play out. Let's see it play out. We can all obviously root for things to improve in various areas of New York City and whoever you're voting for in your local elections. But let's give it a chance to play out. Let's give it a chance. Let's not try to root for it to fail. I'm not going to do that. So it's the universal. It's not just for poor people. If it's universal, it's not just for poor people. We'll see. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. Now, the social programs that I'm talking about in the past, I'm talking about the ones that are targeted the poor community, because I think that's who you take advantage of and end up ripping off the most. You keep them in this impoverished mindset. But I guess we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Shout out to Jim B in the building. All right. We got a New Yorker. Guys. Being a New Yorker, my point to him winning and saying that I'm happy for New York is that it's time that somebody takes a hammer to some of the policies that have not been working for New Yorkers. All right, we'll see. Let's see. Hold on. This is an interesting one. I like him strategically, especially him wanting to stay home instead of kissing the wall. All right. So I thought it was going to be a New York perspective from an Israeli. I saw the Israel flag, but let's get into it. Because I think we all have. Shout out to Matt in the building, Matthew. Zionists will sabotage him for sure. Yo, it was I saw an interesting clip of, I think it was Sneeko. I didn't even watch the entire clip, so I can't give proper feedback. But he was interviewing a rabbi, and the rabbi was protesting. Like it's kind of, and maybe this is what happens with when you have just two parties or more extreme views on both sides, where the rabbi was against Zionism, but he's also against the fact that he thinks that Mamdani may, his policies, him winning, it may present certain problems or make his life a little bit more dangerous, I think that he was saying, or Jewish people get attacked more, whether that's physically or however he was suggesting. I didn't watch the whole clip, but it is an interesting perspective, because you're kind of caught in the middle in a lot of these things. And I think a lot of people, this is politics. We're all caught in the middle. If you're moderate, if you exercise common sense, if you care about people, if you want humanity to live in harmony, if you don't want to, just be on the Mark Levine side of things, if you don't want to be on the AOC side of things, the Bernie side of things, whatever that may be, then you're going to be in this position where, what does it go back to? We're choosing the lesser of the two evils, So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Let's hold on. Big Bro, when Big Bro speaks, we listen. Y'all know Big Bro and Uncle always giving some good games. So Steve said, I'm continually reminded of the Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. Yo, let's actually embrace it. Perhaps we should be embracing these times a bit more than we're doing. It's very easy for us to complain about these times that we're living in, because there are a lot of things that I think people have legit complaints about. However, let's also remind ourselves that who wants to live in a boring time? Who wants to live in, everybody had white picket fences and a nice home, and like when you're actually called, this actually reminds me of, I was having a conversation. I think I was talking to Maya, and we were talking about how lucky, somebody made a comment, how lucky we are to be born in America. And I started to think, and I think I even said something back where it's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's the perspective, because it's almost as if, don't you want to be born in an area where you're needed the most, where you can stand up, where your impact is going to mean the most? Some people want comfort. Others want to be, like Achilles. It's almost like when Achilles met with his mother before deciding whether or not he was going to fight with Agamemnon and fight against Troy. And originally he was going to stay out of the battle because he's like, I don't feel like fighting for Agamemnon and him just trying to conquer more and more land. But then his mother said, and this is what Achilles, I guess she knew her son, that this war would be spoken about from generations to generations for the next thousands of years. And that is what made Achilles decide to go fight, because he wanted his name to be remembered. He wanted to be involved in what would be known or what would be spoken about for thousands of years. And this may be the situations that we're in. And perhaps the comfort, when we're born in comfort, our impact is not going to meet as much. But when we're born in different places where, us standing up can really make a difference, then now I'm not saying that, there's also a other side of that. You're raised in Gaza. All right, well, you're born in Gaza. Well, clearly you could have a bomb dropped on you and those plans could end very quickly. So who knows? I guess it goes back to the saying that my dad, I always think of this with my dad, good news, bad news, who knows? Good news, bad news, who knows? However, let's appreciate the times that we're in, and let's figure out how we can add impact when we talk about our personal legend. So let's get into, what's going to be our first video? All right, so we're going to start off with Mamdani. This is what we're going to do. We actually have a clip that I've been trying to show y'all on relationships. And it's actually Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson talking about relationships. We're going to get into that afterwards. First, we're going to start off with Zohran Mamdani. The reason why we're going to get into the relationship talk afterwards is because with all of these politics, whoever's in power, with it being so toxic, provocative right now, us being so radicalized, you know what matters more than all that? And what supersedes all that, just like we talked about the other day, as far as culture superseding religion, culture can supersede politics. There's certain people that if you live a certain way, no matter who's in office, no matter who's in power, your life will be solid. Like we can avoid all of these political combos and still have a solid life. Now we're going to push one way or another. However, I think it's very important for us to keep the main thing, and what does take precedent and what does determine the impact that we'll make on this world and our lives, you know, how purposeful our lives will be. I think there's things that are more important than, you know, just paying attention to who's in office. And I think one of the most important things is obviously us having relationships, who we are entering a marriage union with, who we are just living life with, who we're surrounding ourselves with. And I've heard it over and over, you know, one of the most important or the most important decision that you're going to make in your life is who you decide to marry, who you decide to have kids with, have a family, however that looks for you. So that's why we're going to get into the relationship combo. And I also think that this interesting back and forth between Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson, I think it shows a lot of things that we talk about. It brings a lot of those conversations out and highlights a lot of the reasons why people are looking in a different direction for perhaps somebody like a Nick Fuentes or Tucker Carlson that has been shifted his stance on a lot of these issues in America, and he's been getting called out for. So let's start off with Zohran. We're going to look at his speech. We're going to look at his victory speech, but what I want to start off with is what I think was perhaps the most significant area or the most significant thing that catapulted him into relevance. So let's take a look at this. So this was, I think this that we have. This was a short, so this was being asked at, remember, I don't know if y'all remember, but at the first New York City debate with a bunch of the mayors, there were like 10 mayors up there, 10 candidates up there. And they were all asked the question of, you know, saying, hey, you know, that first visit that you make outside of America, it usually signifies a lot. It's pretty impactful. And everybody was asked where they would go first. The majority of people said, well, you'll hear what they say. They answered, and then Zohran Mamdani gave a different answer. Let's take a look at what that was, because I think that's one of the things that catapulted him into what he just won last night. Hold on, let me make this large screen. It should be shared. Where am I going to hang? Right side, strong side. All right, we'll be on the right side.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I've said
in a
UJA question.
Hold up. Oh, why does it do this? Hold on 1 second. For some reason, it doesn't let you view shorts. Like, why does it do that? Hold on.
Questionnaire that I believe that you need.
What the? You can see it on the screen now. Hold on. Give me a second. We're going to pivot. We're going to pivot. Give me a second. I'm down here. Give me a second. I'm gonna have to go on X. 1 second. I don't know why those videos don't show in the shorts. It won't let me, but hold on. Oh, yo, it was wild as that was wild. I literally just, hold on, I'm gonna show you. I just went on X. I didn't type in anything. And it just pulled up the exact video that I was looking for. It just pulled up the exact video that I was looking for. That's pretty wild. Let me not spend too much time on it. Let me just be thankful.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo?
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani?
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
as a Jewish state?
As a state with equal rights.
He won't
Not as a
say it
Jewish
has
state.
a right to exist as a Jewish state. Be very
And
clear.
his answer was no, he won't visit Israel.
I said that.
That's what he was trying to say.
No. Unlike
No,
you, I
you
answer.
never-
Unlike
you
you, I
never
answer
said
questions
no.
very
Okay.
directly.
All right.
My goal would be to take my first trip to Israel. My wife's life work in this area means a lot to our family, and it could coincide with my young son Miles' bar mitzvah, if you'd like to have his bar mitzvah.
Okay, but
Yo, I'm laughing because, well, first off, I'm laughing. Let me not do that. I'm laughing at the black guy and him laughing at everybody else. But so apparently a few other people did say, I think like a couple Caribbean islands or something like that. But the majority of people were saying Israel. And so I wrote down a couple notes and I'm like, this is just an example. Like perhaps this is just an example of why the reaction to everything that's been going on with, Israel, Palestine, why people are feeling the way that they're feeling. Maybe this is why Zohran Mamdani won. These people are New York City mayoral candidates, and they're having a back and forth. Let me change the camera angle a little bit. They're having a back and forth on like who has more loyalty to Israel. You got the guy up there, yeah, will coincide with my kid's bar mitzvah. And this just demonstrates how much these politicians feel that if they pledge a certain allegiance to Israel, it would benefit them, especially in New York City, right? Running for mayor. Why is it even why is it even a question in New York City in a mayoral debate if you would visit Israel? Why is it a question of do you believe that Israel has the right to exist? We're talking about somebody running for New York City mayor. Now, whenever we talk about it, right, that's one of the main things that people say, well, you should focus on Israel, not make it about all Jewish people. Okay, who's making it about all Jewish people? Is it the Nick Fuentes? Is it Tucker Carlson like Ted Cruz was trying to call out? Or is it the people that are asking them questions, the people that are trying to act like they're the ones that are making it about Jewish people every time you criticize Israel? Why is Zohran Mamdani being asked? Does he believe that Israel has the right to exist while he's running for New York City mayor? Why? Because the Jewish people that live in New York, they won't vote for him if he doesn't believe that Israel has the right to exist? So another example of how we pick and choose. Well, it's the only Jewish state. It has nothing to do with Jewish people. It has nothing. It's only Zionist. It's only Israel. These are the BS games that people are sick and tired of. This is the influence that we're seeing being played out right in front of us. When we look at Kevin Roberts from the Heritage Foundation, jump up there like we showed the video yesterday and pull an entire 180 on the principles that he was so strong on last week in defending Tucker Carlson, pushing America first, defending his Christ first values or Christ is king values, defending free speech, not allowing censorship, all these different things. And then he pulled a complete 180, went to his school to not even identify the things in his previous speech or the previous comments that he made, not to identify the things that he said was wrong, but simply to talk about how anti-Semitism is at an all-time high and how scary it is to be a Jewish person in America right now. Zohran Mamdani is a reaction. He's a reaction. And Chris Cuomo, we're getting ready to take a little bit of a look on Chris, check out a video that Chris Cuomo did. He highlighted that, well, Democrats are always going to win in New York City, but this is just a clear case that the Democrats are not looking for an Andrew Cuomo type of leader. This is a reaction. This is the CNN poll that looks at Palestine, that for the first time ever, that shows that Americans are looking at Palestine, the Palestine-Israeli conflict differently for the very first time, as far as being more empathetic and towards Palestine than Israel. We have to ask ourselves why, or I guess if I was on the losing side, I would ask myself why. Are we experiencing a shift? There is a shift. People are simply not looking at Israel the way that we've looked at it previously. People are not willing to just allow these things to just keep going on as they've previously done. People are not okay with AIPAC having the type of influence that it has on our politicians. Just think about that. Why are you even asking these questions? Hold on, let's look at how they posture this. And it's like hold on, let me go back to 107.
Donnie, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
What he just said was America first. And if you zoom in a bit more, he said New York City first. I'm here to put New York City first. While all y'all are trying to fight for Jewish and Israeli acceptance, Zohran Mamdani is speaking to the New Yorkers that are questioning, well, why are, if we don't have enough funds to take care of New Yorkers, then why are we sending money to Israel? People will complain about Zohran Mamdani, and maybe we'll review some of his policies. I have some pulled up just to get a little bit of an understanding on what his policies were. And one of the things that he wanted to push was, I think it was the free bus system. So a lot of people are pissed off, a free bus system. A lot of people are pissed off that he wants to raise taxes 2%. But a lot of other people are pissed off saying, well, why can we send out all of this money to a foreign country? Why can don't they have free healthcare? Do they also have free college? I'm not sure. Let's look that up. Is there free college? Let's look it up. So it's not free. So public. Okay, so Israel has a public university system where tuition is heavily subsidized by the state. So when people are just exercising common sense and saying like, hey, if we're complaining about not having enough funds in New York City to take care of New Yorkers, isn't that around like the same argument that a lot of conservatives and Republicans were making when it came to, hey, we can't bring all these immigrants in because we don't want to spend our tax dollars on it? Okay, well, where's that same energy when it comes to Israel? Why couldn't they read the room? It should be very obvious. And the only reason why it wouldn't be obvious to these politicians, and the reason why they're trying to pander to this Israeli first, you can't say Jewish population, right? This pro-Israel population It raises a lot of question marks, to say the least, I'll say. Now I want to move on to another video. Let's look at this Chris Cuomo video that I was referencing earlier, and I want y'all to give me y'all opinion. Hold on, what's the timestamp? I believe 1 minute and 15 seconds. All right, share this tab. Let's take a look. So this was, I guess, right after they announced that Zohran Mamdani is the winner. So
this is based on nothing.
But no, New York gives a big dump right after you get all the early votes.
You already have almost 750,000.
That's probably most of the early vote.
Yeah,
right.
And so look, this will be a record turnout year. These are a big basket of votes. If this percentage structure stays, these are.
I want to leave this up here for a second, because you know what stands out to me? Not only would he have beat Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, if they combine their votes, which is wild. Not only would he have beaten both of them, and and a lot of people were saying that Curtis Sliwa should pull out the race and give those votes to Andrew Cuomo, but I'm not sure that those votes would have gone to Andrew Cuomo. All of them. Well, obviously not all of them, but a large percentage. The one thing that's standing out to me is that, why did Curtis Sliwa only get 8%? That to me is the most concerning. When you look at a lot of his policies, here's a guy that created, what's the group that Curtis Sliwa created? Hold on one second. Those Angels, Guardian, I think it's the Guardian Angels. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. It was the Guardian Angels group, where they were actually protecting New Yorkers during a time when they didn't have police in the subways. I think he took a couple bullets to the head. I think the mob or John Gotti, don't quote me on that, but I think he was having some issues with them, and he ended up getting shot in the head for protecting New Yorkers, for putting his life on the line. So that's the thing that stands out to me. I'm like, damn, this guy actually has put his life on the line to protect New Yorkers, not just some New Yorkers on the subway system. He created an entire group of Guardian Angels. I don't believe that they were they didn't have guns. You ask how many police officers would feel comfortable policing without guns, especially during a time in New York City where I think violence was at an all-time high, which is why he decided to step up and have that role. Why does he only have 8%? That's what's standing out to me. I guess Democrats just do run New York City. And what this highlights is perhaps why a lot of people are fearful. When you got a guy that Zohran Mamdani, he's running the Democratic Party. Because what's happening now on the conservative side? Who do we always talk about? We talk about Nick Fuentes, right? So here you have a guy, Zohran Mamdani, in New York City, perhaps the greatest city in the world, right? Even from just a branding standpoint, when you say the mayor of New York City, it means something across the world, right? It determines how a lot of other countries may look at what's going on with the United States. It determines how a lot of Americans can look at what's going on with the United States. So here we have Zohran on the Democratic side, somebody that is pushing to not have pander to the Zionist and pro-Israel crowd. And then you have Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson on the other side. You had the Heritage Foundation for a day and a half calling out, we do not want any other country to have an influence on our American politics. And we're not only saying that we don't want any other country, but it's being called out and exposed that Israel obviously does have a stranglehold, whatever it is that you want to call it, a huge influence, some type of control over our politics, because otherwise, why would they even be discussing whether or not Israel has the right to exist in a New York City mayoral debate? Who cares? From that standpoint, who cares? Why is it relevant? Let's keep going.
Are a big basket of votes. If this percentage structure stays the same, it answers the question of the mandate.
Right. That's
if Mamdani, which means that he did even better
well,
in
we don't
this
know
election
that yet,
than he did. But I'm saying if it holds, it becomes a very interesting plus minus for him, because there's the promise versus the promises kept, which can be tricky, especially because a mayor's not as powerful as a president or a governor. But I do think you have to talk about why. And even I can see what this is about. And of course, I wanted my brother to win. I believe in my brother. I think he's a tremendous operator within government, but he's not what Democrats want right now in their party. And Democrats win in New York City, Chris. I mean, that's the one-line analysis is the Democrat was going to win in New York City. But the type of Democrat and what they want, I do believe there's a metaphor here as a reaction to MAGA, and this is what we'll see in the midterms. But I guess that's fought by Virginia and New Jersey in terms of who they elected. The president will quickly tell you that he is no fan of my brother, or of mine, by the way, and that's okay. But I believe he and his people are looking at this race because they see what can beat them in the midterms. And the lineup...
So you think he's watching because he sees the same energy?
It is MAGA on the other side with more people and more intensity than we saw with MAGA.
But let me ask, what Chris Cuomo's talking about is what we were talking about. This is just a response. Perhaps this is how this system is supposed to work. I mean, what else do we, matter of fact, what else do we expect when you have two parties? It's a pendulum, right? We talk about it all the time. We're going to go over here, then this side is going to get more pissed off the more the pendulum swings, over here. Then they'll be justified to be more radical, to bring the pendulum swinging over here more. And then it just goes back and forth. It just goes back and forth. Perhaps the best thing that we can do, if it is a pendulum, like, I guess to make it balance, what do? You put more pressure in the middle, right? You put more pressure to make it balance and stay in the middle and not swing from side to side. You want to put more pressure in the middle of it, right? So that's where the moderates are. That's where the common sense is. That's where a lot of us who find ourselves looking at both sides like, I'm not really feeling either one. That's where it's on us to make our voices known, to stand on the things that we want to stand on. And that's why even when I look at that pendulum swing, I was getting ready to say why I would prefer for a guy like Curtis Sliwa to get more votes. But him being the Republican candidate, I guess, like I'm reading in the chats, a lot of people are saying that he just never had a chance. And that's what Chris Cuomo was saying. But what's going to eventually happen? Like, what's going to eventually happen when this pendulum just continues to swing and it gets more and more extreme? It's going to be interesting to see how this stuff plays out. So let's go over some of the policies before we get into the video with Nick and Tucker. Let's go over some of these policies. Oh, I just clicked on the wrong thing. Hold on one second. Let's go over some of these policies. I'll actually share the screen with y'all. Let's go over some of these policies. We'll go over them quickly. I really don't even want to spend too much time on it, to be totally honest. Let me pull that up. All right, you guys should be able to see it on your screen. All right, let's go over what exactly Zohran is planning on doing. What is he planning on doing? And Zohran, where are you? All right, sorry, I was asking some questions about these social programs. But let's take a look at Zohran. His platform highlights lowering the cost of living for working class New Yorkers. I don't think anybody is opposed to that. I think it's just more so the strategies. He supports a rent freeze for millions of rent stabilized tenants. It's always about what comes with that. When you do the rent freeze, what comes with that? I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, and I'm reading a lot of these for the first time. I glanced over it earlier, but I'm reading these for the first time. I wasn't aware of his policies. I wasn't really too concerned with New York City politics, to be totally honest. Oh my God, I just said it. I said to be totally honest, but I caught myself before y'all caught me. Plan to build 200,000 new affordable rent stabilized housing units over the next decade. And I guess the first thing that people would think about is, well, where's the money going to come from? And this is where I guess that increase in 2% of the taxes comes from. Now, do the wealthy people really care about that 2%? I would be pissed off. I don't want to pay more taxes. It's already high. But I guess, would I be pissed off because I don't think it's going to actually benefit one? I don't think that they're actually going to pull this thing off. And even if they do pull it off, I guess I would go back to the first one where it's like, even is this something positive? Is this something positive? I really don't know. I really don't know. New York and America is in such a tough place. You know, we're spending money. We have no money to spend. We're just in a very tough place. Let's keep going. Crack down on bad landlords, protect tenants. This is why I would never, like, I would be very hesitant. Like, if I could own a property in New York, I'd probably want to buy it somewhere else in a place where you can actually evict people and people just not, you know, just live there. It's so favorable to the tenants. Just to be told, that's me. Raise the minimum wage in New York City to $30 an hour. I don't know the impact of all this stuff. Like I would be just guessing. I don't know the impact of all this stuff. I don't know the impact of all this stuff. And it'd be, if I had to guess, do people actually care about this stuff? Do people actually look into this stuff? Even the people that voted for the New York City mayor. I don't know. It usually comes down to one issue. It usually comes down to one, maybe two issues for people. Reasons why they either hate Mamdani, you know, one reason, oh, he's a Muslim, he's an Islam, whatever they'll say. I'm not voting for him. It still goes back to that lesser of two evils. I don't even want to spend time on this thing. Let's get to the actual video that we were going to show with Nick Fuentes, because this stuff doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things compared to the conversation that we're getting ready to have when it comes to relationships. So let's move on. Let's clean the slate. Do me a favor, like. We want people engaged in this conversation that we're getting ready to have, because we don't know. We're guessing on all these policies, how it's going to play out, what the impact is going to be. It's almost to the point where New York City is in such bad shape now. If it got any worse, would we even be able to recognize? Like, would we even be able to see, oh, this got even worse? You know, Mayor Adams, who I thought, besides him going out and partying and wanting to be ghost from power, I appreciated certain things that he was doing. I appreciated that he was standing up for what it seemed like for New Yorkers at the time. I appreciated certain things. Now, he perhaps got a little extra, you know, he hanging out with rappers and all this other stuff. We don't need that. We don't need that. But there's certain things in the city calling out, like, look, got too many immigrants coming here. New York City can't handle all these things. So I appreciated certain things that he was doing. But ultimately, I still don't know the impact of it. So let's move on. Let's move on.
Why aren't people married?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's the women. The women are extremely liberal. No one talks about that. They're increasingly they do, especially after.
This is why people are scared of Nick Fuentes. Every time he speaks, I feel like I'm saying the same thing. This is why people are scared of Nick Fuentes. Now, he just triggered a whole lot of people, right? He just triggered a whole lot of people. Why aren't we married? Let's go back to the beginning.
Why aren't people married?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's the women. The women are extremely liberal. No one talks about that. They're increasingly they do, especially after the last election. There's a 45-point difference between men and women. The men are extremely conservative, increasingly. The women are extremely liberal.
What are they liberal on? What issues? Like, what does that mean, liberal?
Oh, they're very feminist.
Like, actually?
Extremely feminist, yes.
They don't believe that, do they?
I think they do.
Really?
Absolutely,
How could
yes.
you believe that? I think gender roles are a construct, that none of this is inborn? Like, you'd have to be an idiot to think that.
They like the idea of it. They like because, of course, I think all women naturally want strong men.
Of course, obviously.
They naturally want a Chad. You know, they want like a tall, buff guy. But I think they like the idea of none of them.
And let me actually add a little context, if I may. Feminism is definitely a problem. And see, just like Zohran Mamdani was a reaction, there's a whole lot of aunties, mamas, young grandmamas who have reacted to getting pissed off about how granddaddy treated grandma or how they may have been treated by whoever they were involved with, their baby daddy, their husband, whatever it may be. And they raised their daughters to be something different than they were. They raised their daughters to think about themselves before they think about the marriage. They raised their daughters to be independent, strong women out here that can go far in the workplace. They raised their daughters with no qualities when it comes to being a wife. They raised their daughters with unrealistic expectations based on the value that they're giving to a relationship, based on what they feel that they should receive in return. And the fathers, who y'all know I blame the most, they did the very same thing. And instead of wanting to be a father, they decided to raise their daughters to be women that they could not stand dating themselves. They raised their daughters to think that, oh, well, yeah, I want a man that, is I don't want a high value, or I want the top man, but am I willing to give top effort? Am I willing to perform in my role the same way that I want a man in this relationship to perform in his role? Nick Fuentes is willing to call this out. A lot of other men are not willing to call this out. Aren't we seeing a reoccurring theme when it comes to Nick Fuentes? Whether it's relationships, whether it's our ties to Israel, when it comes to a lot of these controversial issues, he seems to be willing to call it out straight and direct in ways that a lot of other people are not willing to call it out. Perhaps this is why one side is trying to cancel him, while the majority of people, in my opinion, are now running towards him. Or even if you're not running towards him, you're actually hearing the things that he's saying and you're like, he's kind of got a point there.
Want to work either. None of them
That's
actually
what I'm
want
saying.
to work.
No, that's what I'm saying. Of course, right. It's obviously true. It's always been true. Work outside the home.
Right.
They don't have enough work at home. There's a lot to do. But no, I completely agree. So that's why I question they're feminists in what sense?
Yes. And, they like these vague appeals to equality. We want a chance to work and we want respect. And, ultimately, I think the whole political system is just based around women never being accountable for any of their choices. Ultimately, that seems to be that's what abortion is.
Yeah, of course.
Before we get into the abortion topic, this reminds me of the quote. I forget who actually said it. May have been Kevin Samuels. Rest in peace, Unc, man. He said that women want the power of men, the privilege of women, and the accountability of children. Now, of course, ladies that are watching now, and a couple ladies come to mind that I know are sitting here watching the show. I don't think that this applies to you in particular. I don't think it applies to you, period. But I think us not being aware and acknowledging the different people in our lives who it may apply to, I think that's where the problem is allowed to grow and fester and spread like a cancer and create a culture in our society that has become what it has become, which is what Nick is talking about. See, while everybody's trying to say Nick is racist, Nick is all this, you know what a black young man, probably in his 20s and 30s, is going to hear when they listen to Nick? They'll hear the N-word, and although it may trigger some people more than it may trigger others, they're actually appreciating this part of what he's saying, because there's not a lot of people that are willing to call it out. There's not a lot of people that are willing to say these things. The boomers are not talking about this. Tucker Carlson acts like he's not even aware of what's going on. We have a crisis. We have a crisis. We're not getting married. We're not prioritizing family. Nobody knows what role they're playing. Forget from a LGBTQ, all that stuff, role stuff. nobody knows, even when it comes to just a man and a woman. Maybe that's why all that other stuff is so relevant. Maybe that's why it's so appealing to certain people that may be dealing with different mental health issues, whatever it may be. I'm talking more about the trans stuff where it's like you don't know whether you're a boy or a girl or what you feel. We don't even know how to play a role as far as a husband and a wife, boyfriend and girlfriend. Nobody teaches us. To me, this sets a foundation, a shaky foundation. And when we don't have a stable foundation, and when it comes to family, then it allows all this other BS that we talk about from time to time on the show, it allows it to create that cancer even more. Let's keep going.
9% of abortions are elective. So they say it's an unplanned pregnancy. You had sex out of wedlock with someone you didn't intend to have kids with. So now we have to kill the kids in the womb. And, these no-fault divorce laws. These women get married.
And think about it, even when it comes to culturally with the Democratic Party, this is something that I always have an issue with, where it seems like the Democrats have attached themselves to certain groups that are pushing for, have as much sex as you want. You got parents, you got women out here, grandmas and aunties, who have FOMO and are pissed off and now telling their daughters to go live out their hoe days in college. And now it's continued into now 20 and 30 years old. And you got 35-year-old women, 38-year-old women, 30-year-old women running around here now confused because they lived out all their hoe years. Men don't want them anymore. Now they're going back to they slept with all these men that they probably shouldn't have slept with because they were sleeping with them for the wrong reasons. Now you try to go back to the squares. You try to spin the block on the squares. And now the square guys don't even want you. And now you find yourself in a position where you don't even know what to do. You have no qualities when it comes to how to be a woman, what it takes to please a man, to be there for a man, to support a man. You have no understanding of what that role looks like. You have an unrealistic expectation of your value and what that should bring back to you. You're out of shape. You're pretty much like an out of shape guy. You're a guy. You know how to protect and provide for yourself because you've had to do it this entire time yourself. You had your aunt telling you that, you should look out for yourself. You can't commit 100% to a man. You got to always make sure that you look out for yourself because these men, they'll dog you if you commit to them. This is the mindset. It's actually unfair to a lot of these young women growing up. I feel bad for them. I feel bad for us as the men. I feel bad for the women.
Married to guys maybe they never intend to stay with. And then when they're out, they're done. And they want child support and they want.
And even when it comes to the pill stuff, the fact that we look at, it's one thing to, it's not a black and white when it comes to abortion for everybody. For some people it is. But for a lot of people when it comes to abortion, there's a difference between, I think that people should be able to have abortions. There's a difference between solely thinking that and looking at abortion like it's a condom. Calling it birth control, I'm not sure that that's the right way to look at it when you're going to put it in the same category as a condom. We look at it as abortions. We grow up thinking abortions just, you do your thing, man. And if anything, just have an abortion. We don't even understand the spiritual impact, the physical impact that it'll have on a woman, the mental impact that it'll have on a woman. But we grow up pushing this type of mindset that it's okay to just have an abortion. Live your life, be free, girl. This is what the Democratic Party has been pushing for a very long time. It's a cultural thing. What message do you think it sends when you have Meg Thee Stallion? Her entire brand is about sex, selling sex. And she's at Kamala Harris's rally. What type of message does that send to young girls? How is that going to impact the younger generation? You're telling me Nick Fuentes is more dangerous than us pushing that type of poison in our community?
Half the stuff. And I think a lot of men are looking at women and they're very liberal. They're overweight. They have a very high estimation of themselves. I think that people call it hoflation.
Hoflation?
Yes, their sense of their own looks and sexual value is very inflated. And so a lot of people are looking at these like frumpy, obnoxious, loudmouth, liberal women who are also very promiscuous and saying this is not actually appealing at all. And I don't want to start a family with a person
Sounds
like
awful.
this. Yeah, it is.
But if you believe in the patriarchy, as I fervently do, because it's just reality, we didn't choose the system. We were born into a system that is part of nature, can't get out of it. So if you believe that that's true, which it is, then you think that men should lead. And if it's going to be better, men should make it better because that's their job.
Right.
So you don't want to give them a pass, do you? It'd be like it's all the girls suck. So
I don't even blame it on the women because I think that it's the incentive structures. Women are allowed to do this by the legal system, by kind of social norms. Technology is a big part of it. The attention that is available to women. Women go on Instagram and they get attention from thousands of men.
What do we talk about all the time? So this is actually, Nick Fuentes speaks out against porn. Like when you actually look at where Nick Fuentes stands on a lot of these issues, you may not like how he communicates, but who else is speaking out on these things? The impact that porn's having on a lot of our relationships, the impact that social media is having on a lot of the women. Women don't even get excited to show affection to their man. They'll take more attention in the picture that they're putting on Instagram for the rest of the world, right? For the rest of the men out there to give them that dopamine hit when they're liking their photo, when they're sending a DM, when they're putting the heart eyes underneath their picture. They will focus more on that and actually feel better about that. Like a chemical, they will really feel it within their body. More so than when they lay down with their husband, with their boyfriend, with their whoever it is, with their partner in the evening. Why is that? They'll take more time to curate a picture on Instagram than they will to come home and curate a romantic evening with their husband that just worked all day, right? Now, I understand a lot of them are working all day too, but I've said it. I heard somebody say it. I was talking to a lot of my boys. Men are the new romantics, man. Men are the new romantics overall. Now, are there some ladies that are still romantic? Yes, but I don't know where you're getting it from. Maybe you're watching old school rom-coms. I don't know. There is literally something in a woman where she will take more time to curate a picture on Instagram than she will to curate a romantic experience with her significant other.
So it's the incentives. But I would say that, because I hear this all the time, people say, well, the men need to step up and be better and lead the women. Easier said than done.
Of course, I agree with that.
They're at war with the system, and not even just the system, but also society. Because let's say you find one of these so-called good girls who's Christian and traditional, but through osmosis, wherever you go, she's going to be in society. She's going to be on TikTok. She's going to be on Instagram. She's going to be talking to other women. And maybe she's one way when you meet and get married, but 10 years down the road, 15 years, 20 years down the road, people change. And I think that women, as kind of the ultimate conformists, the ultimate enforcers of like social norms, I think eventually the pressure from society kind of gets to them. And a lot of them will go in a
Depends
different
what kind of
direction.
husbands they have. I mean, if there's real leadership at home, I don't know a single happily married.
Depends what type of father you have, but I don't want to cut off. Let's get into what Tucker's getting ready to say. We're not even getting to that point. Like Tucker's talking about, it depends on what type of husbands you have at home. We're not even getting to that point. Yo, I'll be honest. I've said this for a while, joking around, but I'm not going to be, I won't be surprised if men start doing surrogates. I won't be surprised. It's to the point where men are feeling like, why would I even sign up for this? What am I getting out of this? oh, I'm getting the salary that you bring to the table. All you're going to do is spend it on the stuff that you want to spend it on anyway. I'm still going to be the one covering most of the bills anyway. What am I getting out of this ordeal? I could go have a surrogate, hey, let's, just as any other couple would get a surrogate, or any woman may do a surrogate pregnancy, have a child. Plenty of women love taking care of kids that it's not their kid. Whatever. The only thing that you'll miss is what? Breastfeeding? Okay. I'm just speaking for the fellas. The deal is raw for the fellas. Now, overall, I still think that sometimes you have to make a sacrifice. And what I mean by sometimes you have to make a sacrifice, this may be a generation where us fellas, we get to a point where it's like, hey, you got to get married, have kids. Things may not be as favorable for you as you'd like. The things that you're bringing to the table, could you imagine? Like, it's like, I always think like, yo, if I was born a couple generations ago and the fellas were performing the way that we're performing now, like it's almost like there's a curve on the test. Like, did they have a curve on the test before? Because it feels like the men received more in their relationships back in the day and gave a whole lot less. Whether it was the amount of money that they earned was less, whether it was their loyalty to the family was less, but they still got more out of the relationship, it seems like. Now very confusing. Very confusing, but let's keep going. Let's keep going. I just wanted to emphasize, we're not even to that point where it turns into marriage. So fellas, it's going to come to a point where a lot of us are going to have to ask ourselves that question. Does this make sense? Do we want to sacrifice? Because it will be a sacrifice. You may have to settle. I know that women were taught, oh, you should never settle. You should never settle. Don't ever settle for anything. What does that even mean when it comes to a woman? Like, what do you mean settling? Fellas, you're going to have to settle.
What kind of husbands they have? I mean, if there's real leadership at home, I don't know a single happily married woman who's liberal. Not one. I know a lot of married women. I mean, I'm 56. All the women I know are married. Mm-hmm. And every happily married woman is non-liberal. Mm-hmm. I can't even imagine. There's no category for happily married, middle-aged liberal woman. There hasn't never been one.
Right.
So like maybe the job is to, make a girl happy and like all this nonsense ends.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that could be a bottomless pit too, because the one critique I have of the men is, and you're right about this, they enable this behavior.
Well, that's for sure.
It's epidemic of simps who, and especially with Christians, I've noticed this. This is why Andrew Tate has so much appeal, and the Christians are kind of losing this conversation. Andrew Tate's a Muslim polygamist who is very chauvinistic, and you could even argue it as someone who has ran an OnlyFans site himself, like is not an observer, let's say, of Christian sexual morality.
No.
But men are going with him because he's putting women in their place. He's talking about patriarchy and women's place in a society like that. Whereas Christian men, Catholics, Protestants alike, are both kind of tone policing the men. And they worship their wives. They worship the women, put them on a pedestal. And they, they kind of get bossed around. They get henpecked by the women.
I think we're required to love our wives. Like that's, all over the New Testament. Husbands, love your wives. Wives, respect your husbands. That seems like a very natural balance to me.
Yeah, and I think that you have to love your wife as your wife.
Yeah.
A lot of men...
As opposed to what? Your mom?
Well, no, like your buddy.
No.
Because I hear this all the time, and I hate this. Guys will say, I married my best friend. And
I've heard that all the time. I married my best friend. I probably said that before as far as what we should be trying to do. I probably repeated somebody saying it. I've heard Anton, shout out to Anton Daniels. I've heard him say it, but I think it's a little different when he says it. I don't need to explain it. But should we be loving somebody as our best friend, or should we be loving them as the role of the wife? My fault. I shouldn't have interrupted.
I think, she's your wife. She's not your best friend, because there's a difference.
What is the difference?
I think that when you talk about your best friend, you're a peer, you're an equal. And I think your best friendships are with other men. And I think that your wife ultimately is subordinate to you. She's your helpmate. Yeah. And ultimately, as the man in the marriage and as the father, you have authority, the final say over the household.
Well,
and
course.
She can give advice. It's not to say I'm not a freak where you say, shut up, woman. I mean, of course, you discuss things with your wife and your wife gives input, but the authority rests with the man.
Of course. Of course.
I don't know if that's of course, Tucker. Even when women just heard that word subordinate, I'm sure a lot of women had an issue with it. I'm sure that it triggered some people, but let's be honest here. Like, this is like some new age type of thinking, and it goes back to everything is a response, right? Everything's a response. Even this whole silliness when it comes to equality. Like, it's still only equality in the ways that make the most sense for women. Is it really equality? Should a man and women, if a man and woman get into a fight, should we just sit back and say, no, that's an equal one-on-one? No, we should intervene and say, yo, you can't put your hands on a woman. Why can't I put my hands on a woman? She hit me first. No. Well, guys, we can't put our hands on women. We're too strong, right? Well, it's the simps, and I don't even know exactly what that word means, but the people that pander, these fellas that pander, they're the ones that set the tone on a lot of women having the mindset that they have. Because a woman will always be able to find a punkish man that says, oh, I believe that women are, it should be happy wife, happy life. You should be able to, your woman should be put on a pedestal. You should, and totally disregard the fact that they're not put on a pedestal. Of course, both people should put their wife or their husband, hold them in the highest regards. But if we're being realistic about a relationship, when a burglar comes in the door or whenever something hits the fan, let y'all lose your house. Let the family go through a financial crisis. The burden is going to fall on the man. So where the burden falls more on, where there's more responsibility, where the accountability falls more on, that has to be the person that is going to be deemed in the leadership position, I would think, right?
But God set up this kind of amazing system where men are physically stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, of course, you could make your wife do whatever you wanted. You're bigger than she is.
Right.
But he also instilled in men this desire to please your wife. Like, that's a very natural thing. You want your wife to be happy.
Absolutely.
And the whole happy wife, happy life thing is completely real. It's like you can't get away from it. It's not like all of these things. It's not a choice. It's the biological reality that you live with, that you were born with. Like, you want your wife to be happy. And if she's unhappy, you're unhappy to a much greater extent than vice versa.
Tucker just seems to be a little bit lost on this. And when I say lost, I mean, not really. I don't think Tucker has a TV. I don't think he spends much time on social media, or at least he portrays it as that. Happy wife, happy life does not mean like capital H, capital W, happy wife, capital H, capital L, happy life. It does not mean the same as if the words were all lowercase. Of course you should make your wife happy. But that's not what the term means and has come to mean. What it means is, let me compromise my happiness, everything for my wife. And that's cool maybe to a standpoint if you're getting a certain level of, I don't want to say value, but effort in return. But we're currently living in a society. Let me ask y'all this question. What's the saying that women use to emphasize that if their husbands are getting everything that they need to get from their woman, that they can perform better in life. We know the happy wife, happy life saying. What's the one for the men? Ladies, I'm not in your group chats. Let me give it a second. Let me wait for the chat. What's the saying that y'all say in y'all group chat that signifies why it's important for you to make your man happy? Why it's important for you to make your man whole? I'm waiting. There is no saying. We're being taken advantage of. We're being taken advantage of. And what women don't realize is that, like, they think that this is a power move. What this ends up leading to is just nobody being happy. What this ends up leading to is just nobody being happy. And I want to emphasize what Big Bro wrote. So Steve wrote, I married someone that I was extremely attracted to mentally, physically, and spiritually. She ended up becoming my best friend. I'm good with that. I think there's a difference between, and without getting into anybody's situation, I think there's a difference between how Nick is saying it and how if a wife, let's say if a husband performs the duties that a husband is supposed to perform, I would expect that wife would see that husband as her best friend, her closest companion. And I think it's the same in the opposite way. If a woman is performing at a high level, the roles that she's supposed to play in that relationship, then that husband, I'm pretty sure, will see that person as, yo, this is my homie, my rider. Nobody helps me the way that she helps me. I think that that's what it should be. But I think what's ended up happening is we're prioritizing the best friend and never truly understanding what the roles are as far as what a wife should bring to the table. When are we taught those things? Yeah, we learn at young ages what friends and, oh, that's my best friend and this, how to treat a friend. We read books on those things. We understand that. But when we're living in a society that never teaches the roles of a husband, that never teaches the role of a wife, and we always hear, oh, this is just my best friend, we think, oh, it's just nothing to it. Like, yo, we're just homies. When it comes to your best friend, do you all have to have conversations about, like, I'm talking about your best friend, like, let's say you have a guy has a male best friend. Most of the time, it's just, y'all got the same hobbies. Y'all may have grew up together. Y'all may have connected on the job. You see things the same way. You're very much alike. You're not relying on each other to do equal and opposite things, like what happens in a relationship. So what happens in a relationship is a wife, and a lot of times it's the opposites attracting when it comes to relationships. I don't know if that's the same thing as when it comes to best friends. Most of my closest friends that I grew up with, it's because we played sports together. It's because we did this together. A relationship I just see as a bit different, and especially when you factor in the aspect that we are not taught how to be husbands and wives. And if we're just looking at it from a best friend standpoint, I think it's going to leave a huge void in the relationship. That would be kind of my takeaway on it. Let's keep going.
Right?
Yeah.
I think men care about their wives being happy much more than wives care about their husbands being happy.
Yes.
I have noticed. And that's compensation for their lack of physical power.
Mm-hmm.
That's my view of it. And that's why it is this kind of perfect balance, but somebody needs to be the final decision maker. I completely agree. And when you give up that, when you abrogate that, there's no respect, there's unhappiness, and there's infidelity.
Right. Well, that's the ingredient that's missing. The way I would put it very succinctly is men right now are the responsible party, but have no authority. And that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
If the buck stops with you and you're to blame and you're the responsible one, then you also need to be able to have the final say and call the shots. And one without the other doesn't work. And I think that's really smart
and absolutely right. I do think I just noticed this, that men who stay unmarried for too long become like kind of fragile. There's something about the give and take. There's something about living with, in fact, I think it's the key to life, someone you don't fully understand that broadens you, that keeps you always thinking, that makes you wiser, more patient, more thoughtful, more self-aware, and more flexible. And those are all good qualities. And the absence of that, like in homosexuality or like men who are single too long, they get very rigid. Have you ever noticed this? Like, I like things the way I like them, and they just get like, no.
Oh, yeah. I certainly get what you mean by that.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that is I can see that definitely happen because you develop this bitterness or resentment, right? But what's so funny about it is, isn't that how Granddad was? Or maybe not. I don't know. I'm thinking about it in my head. Let's keep going.
I would say that when you say you don't fully understand women, to me, I feel like women are very simple in terms of...
Have you ever lived with one?
No, I haven't lived with them. But, I mean, and don't get me wrong, maybe it's difficult, but I feel like they're pretty simple.
We're all pretty simple. I mean, no one's more simple than I am, but
Shout out my brother
yeah, we're
Corey
all
in the
pretty
building.
simple. But what I mean is, like, on a day-to-day, on the level of experience, like, you don't always understand what they're saying because it's never about what they say it's about.
Right.
And men are just tend to be kind of dog-like in their straightforwardness. You know, I'm hungry, I'm horny, whatever it is.
I disagree. I feel like men are complicated. I feel like women are like, I'm hungry, I'm horny. I feel like men are very complicated.
Really, how?
Because men are masters of the universe. Women are the universe. You know, this is what Spengler says about them. And so I think that men have like a deep connection to things like math and space, and they want to conquer the world.
Of course.
And, you know, things like this. And women, I feel like, are actually very primal and instinctual.
Yes.
They
Much
want security.
earthier.
Yes. Chthonic, you know, they're of the
100%.
terrestrial.
Never embarrassed by bodily functions. Men.
What do y'all think? Who's more simple? I think that men are very simple. I think that it's very. I think that when I say that men are simple, I think across the board, if you got a group of men that they could agree on, this is what we need. What do men need? Sex, dinner, and I only got to two: sex, dinner, and making me feel good. I don't know. The first two will do just well, right? What do women need? I still don't know. I still do not know what women need. I have no idea. It changes. It changes from time to time. It's whatever's needed at that moment based on that particular feeling at that time. And peace. Queen said it just like that. And I was getting ready to say it in a different way, but men need sex, dinner, and peace. And we can order food, to be honest. But I think across the board, men would agree. And the fact that women are not aware of, and I think this is what happens when it comes to accountability, in my opinion. People get very scared and held. When you have a simple assignment, let's take a sports example. You know what puts more pressure? Let's say you're a cornerback and your job is to guard the receiver. See, it's very simple as far as explaining what your job is, but it is not easy. You have to guard that player. You have to be Deion Sanders and guard that player one-on-one all over the field. That's very simple. Now, if you're playing a zone defense, well, if this happens, I may have this. I may have the flat, but then I also have deep thirds, and it becomes complicated. So it creates a certain amount of blame that can go anywhere. Well, this happened because of this. When you have somebody one-on-one, it's simple. Guard them. it has a different level of accountability because the role is understood. The role is simple. And in my opinion, just my opinion, because sports or because what men want is so simple, it adds a certain level of accountability on women that a lot of women are not prepared to deal with because they were never taught these things. Women are not raised to say, hey, you need to make sure that you're pleasing your man sexually. Women are not taught that growing up. Women in their minds, they think, oh, well, if I feel like it, I'll do it. What? That's not how this works. I have testosterone in me. A man that's not being pleased at home, what do you think? We're looking somewhere else. Did daddy not teach you that? Oh, daddy left that one out. Well, what is daddy doing? Does daddy keep it real with you? What do you think daddy's doing? Oh, daddy's looking elsewhere if mom doesn't take, we never looked at it that way. This is why I go back to saying that fathers are raising daughters that they wouldn't date themselves, that they would cheat on. Fathers are raising daughters to become wives and girlfriends that they would cheat on. Now let that shit sink in a little bit. Shall we continue?
They're so squeamish.
Yes.
Women are not at all. They give birth. No, that is absolutely true. But I mean, in the way that women present their concerns, there's almost always something that's not being fully expressed.
Mm.
And hold up. Matt Millions brought up a great point. Daddy ain't there. You're right. Daddy is not there a lot of times. So what happens when a father is not there living in the household with their daughter? Now, when they see their daughter, if they see their daughter, do you think that they're going to be able to discipline them? Do you think that they're going to be able to actually raise them? Like, you ain't around here. What you telling? Like, how you going to tell me this, Dad? You ain't do this with Mom. So they're either teaching them that or showing them that directly or indirectly.
Like, I got mad at you last night because I was pissed about something last year. That's not a male thing to do. You can't remember what happened last year.
Right.
Right. And so, but whatever the point, men and women talk past each other constantly.
Mm-hmm.
They don't always know what the other one is saying. And that frustration actually gives way to like great beauty over time, I would say.
Tuck is in a bubble, in my opinion. It's a bubble that I hope to be in one day. Most women by nature are submissive. See, I don't really think that the issue is like, we talk about submissiveness, but I think that the issue, and let me just kind of unpack this as I'm processing it in my mind. I don't think the issue is women being submissive as much as the issue is women being committed to a role. Let me explain. I agree with you as far as most women in nature are submissive, but that doesn't mean that you're going to passionately fulfill the role that is needed for you to fill in this relationship. Just because you're submissive to a man, like, that's okay. But if I'm going 100% in my role, where are you at in that percentage? Oh, it's required for me to protect, to provide, to keep my body in shape. What else? The things that whatever else that would be on your list. If I'm going 100%, if I'm committed and locked in, all into those things, are you locked in and all into the things that I'm saying that I need out of you? Or do you just want to do them when you feel like doing them? Because that's how you were raised. The submissive thing, that's out the window, in my opinion. I know we talk about it a lot. And I don't, even though most women are naturally submissive in this culture, in this day and age, it's definitely not that. All you have to do is look at the most influential, women when it comes to culture. Whether you're talking about the hip hop community, whether you're talking about overall, I think it's pushed for women to be more and more strong and independent, which doesn't necessarily align with their submissive nature. Let's keep going. Hold on, did I see something from Matt? Yeah, and that's another point. It's not about submissive, it's just the role. They hear the word submissive and think it means inferior. Yeah, it doesn't mean inferior. It just means that that's the role that you're playing. You're submitting to the overall leadership of the team. If I'm on a team with Peyton Manning, then yes, I'm submitting to the overall leadership of the captains on the team. That means that they have a greater leadership role. What they say actually does hold more weight. We grow up understanding that. It's on any team you have to have that. And if there's not, then think about all the teams that have broken up, Shaq and Kobe. Nobody wanted to play the back seat, I guess. And look where that cost them. Think about, this is how things break up, whether it's business, whether it's relationships, whether it's sports. When we don't understand the role and hierarchy, why is Tom Brady, in my opinion, one of the greatest, if not the greatest team players of all times? Greatest player of all time. He took a submissive role to his coach. It was very clear, anybody on that team. Why do a lot of other superstars get into it with their coaches, not as successful? Because they think that they're bigger than the coach. Let's keep going.
I don't know. I personally find women very frustrating when they are not.
And I got to keep stopping it but it works both ways. It's all about mutual respect. This is the thing. We're living in a society where it's clear that men need to show respect. Like, no, that has never, in my opinion, unless I'm a little bit off, and you guys can share your experiences with me. But is it really about respect? Like, are we living in a society where women are just, like, are men in relationships just disrespecting women? Maybe that's the case. I don't know. That's not what I'm seeing. I think what they were discussing earlier is now that the women are taking more of a controlling role over a lot of these pandering men. If the issue is disrespect, of course, there should be a mutual respect. Like, maybe this is the reason why we need to have certain courses about relationships and why parents need to talk about kids about relationships, and parents first and foremost can be a demonstration when we're looking at our parents in a relationship to show that, okay, obviously there has to be a mutual respect. You know how you show a mutual respect? You know how you show a mutual respect? Performing your role. You give 100% effort in your role. I'm going to give 100% effort in my role. That's the best way, in my opinion, that I can show you respect.
And I just view that as, like,
that's the beauty of it.
I see, the way I look at it is like when you look at your favorite TV shows,
right?
The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, it's like the wife is the villain because it's like the main character, if the wife could just get out of the way, would be running the show. And that's kind of how I feel like Ayn Rand, I agree with her about this. She said that the wife's role is like hero worship. The guy is the hero. The guy is supposed to be the entrepreneur, the conqueror, whatever. And the woman is really supposed to support the man's goals and be in his world. And
that's the last thing successful men need is more power worship, more hero worship, more, you're so great. When you get that at work, you don't want that at home. You become an unbearable asshole. And then you fall prey to what destroys every successful man, which is hubris. Like, you mistake yourself for God.
I think Tucker's living in a different world. I want to rewind that just to make sure that I heard it correctly. And shout out to Halus. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Shout out to you out here in Fort Worth, around all the rich old money houses makes me inspired to get it myself. This morning, I'm OG. Get out there and get it. Shout out to the OG CEO. Appreciate you tapping in. Definitely appreciate. That's love. That's love. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I like driving around in certain neighborhoods just to get the inspiration and to manifest as well. So I'm with you on that. But I want to go back to what Tucker said.
You need someone who's not interested in what you do at all, only interested in you. And that's how you become balanced and wise. That's how you know your own limits. Because the ass kissing is what kills you. It's not, I mean, you had someone come to murder you at home. It doesn't seem.
I run it back enough.
The way I look at it is like when you look at your favorite TV shows,
right?
The Sopranos, Breaking Bad. It's like the wife is the villain because it's like the main character. If the wife could just
did I just rewind it too much? Hold on, I'm sorry.
Conquer the world,
of course.
And things like.
Hold on, I'm sorry.
Something last year. That's not a male thing to do. You can't remember what happened last year.
Right.
Right. And so, but anyway, but whatever the point, men and women talk past each other constantly.
I went back too much.
They don't always know what the other one is saying. And that frustration actually gives way to like great beauty over time, I would say.
I don't know. I personally find women very frustrating when they are not expressing. And I just view that as
the beauty
like,
of it.
No, it's not.
The way I look at it is like,
it's not, Tucker. You're married in a relationship. You're a millionaire. It's different, bro. Ladies, is that the beauty of it? I don't want to be frustrated, bro. Like, no, that's not the beauty of it.
Look at your favorite TV shows,
right?
The Sopranos, Breaking Bad. It's like the wife is the villain because it's like the main character. If the wife could just get out of the way, would be running the show. And that's kind of how I feel like Ayn Rand, I agree with her about this. She said that the wife's role is like hero worship. The guy is the hero. The guy is supposed to be the entrepreneur, the conqueror, whatever. And the woman is really supposed to support the man's goals and be in his world. And
that's the
felt
last
that way.
thing successful men need is more power worship, more hero worship, more, you're so great. Well, you get that at work.
No, Tucker, women get that at work. Are we living in a different world? Maybe it's because I don't work like a 9 to 5. So there's no awards that I get. Maybe so that's why I'm looking at it like that. But no, society, we're living in a society where we overly celebrate women and we don't celebrate men perhaps as much as what they quote unquote deserve, if that word makes sense. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm living in a different reality, which may be the case. I'm being it may be the case. I would think that for a relationship to work best, a woman would have to look at her man like, oh my God, he's a superhero. Like this. Tucker is saying that men do not need that. I guess if you're Tucker Carlson and if you're one of the number one political figures or news figures, however you want to call it, in the world, you broke records and of anybody on cable TV. You had the number one show. You're number 1 or 2 to Joe Rogan right now. I guess it's almost speaking from a privileged position to say, the last thing men need is to be told how great we are. Tucker, yo, you have to go out of your way to almost, I don't think men are celebrated. Look at Father's Day. Like, isn't this an obvious thing? Nobody cares about Father's Day. Everything is just about Mother's Day. Everything is, it's not realistic. And I'm not saying these things. I think what ends up happening and what people like Tucker and others will say to what I'm getting ready to say, or let me just say it. Did I lose my train of thought? Huh? Don't be scared. I just got Maya said, "Don't be scared" in the background. Are you projecting, or is that something that you're actually saying? Oh, I lost my train of thought when I heard you walk out. I did not, but perhaps maybe I did. Maybe I did. I'm being bullied right now. Y'all are witnessing it. What was I even talking about? You made me lose my train of thought. See, y'all are seeing this right now in real time. I was talking about being celebrated. That just means continue with the video. Continue with the video. It'll come to mind. See, it'll come to mind. Don't worry. I got y'all, fellas.
You don't want that at home.
Being celebrated at home. Women aren't doing that. How many relationships do you see where a man could be saving the world and doing whatever it is on their job, and then they come home and the woman is just not appreciating any aspect of it? And see, the problem is more men are not speaking out about it. More men are not speaking out about it. Now, some men may just say, look, I don't have that situation in my life, so therefore I just don't I don't feel the need to speak on it. But fellas, there's no way. I talk to a lot of fellas who behind closed doors, they're telling us the real. But then they're going on Instagram and being bullied. They're being bullied in the background to just celebrate their wife. They're getting their wife tattooed on them, but their wife doesn't get them tattooed on them. They're doing all type of wild stuff. And I don't want to get too...
I'm an unbearable asshole. And then you fall prey to what destroys every successful man, which is hubris. Like you mistake yourself for God. You need someone who's not interested in what you do at all, only interested in you. And that's how you become balanced and wise. That's how you know your own limits. Because the ass kissing is what kills you. It's not,
No, Tucker, your wife should be celebrating you. Your wife should be like, where did this come from? And this is that old school baby boomer, maybe grandma, granddad approach. Because y'all overdid it with granddad, now y'all want to underdo it with us. I hear women in their families laughing and joking about granddaddy. He had a whole bunch of women. Papa was a Rolling Stone and laughing about it. Meanwhile, we got to be held to some standard of being perfect, or else we're the worst human beings in the world. Your granddad was allowed to go out and have a family down the street, cheat on grandma, however he wanted to. And grandma was probably being a better woman than you were to your husband or your boyfriend now, probably giving granddad, pleasing him, providing him with all the things that we talked about earlier, more than you're doing to your current man. But he was giving all these passes while we got to be, nah. Matter of fact, you ain't got to get married, fellas. We can stand on this, man. I'm joking around a little bit, but damn, like it gets to a point where you sit back and wonder, is this helping? Am I contributing to the next generation? Like, what am I doing to contribute to the next generation of relationships? What hands am I leaving it in? Like our parents look at it confused as to why we're not getting married at our age. They're confused. Well, maybe it's because you raised your daughter to be a guy. And now we got a bunch of guys running around trying to make it work. And this is, you know what I have noticed? I've noticed that women and men, but I think in particularly women, but maybe it's men. Maybe the situations that I'm thinking about, I talk more to women about this. But what I have noticed is that when a woman has had a child, maybe been married, been in a relationship, and I think I'm not sure if it's the same for fellas. Y'all tell me. That when a woman has been in a relationship that didn't work, where she may have had kids, may have been married, I think there's a different appreciation. There's a different level of appreciation for now when a solid guy comes around, how they see that relationship. I do see that. You know, I talk to certain friends of mine that have kids that the relationship didn't work. And now it seems like they're asked, you know, they're asking for a lot less, or they would appreciate now just the simple things rather than all the things that they were thinking about when they were in their relationship at the time. Maybe I'm wrong.
You had someone come to murder you at home. It doesn't seem to have affected you that much.
And if I were married, dude, she would never let me hear the end of it.
Well, that's probably true, but that's not what destroys men. It's not adversity that destroys men. It's comfort and flattery that destroys men. Right? That's what happened to King David. It's what happens to them all.
Yeah.
You're so great. You can never go wrong.
I just feel like we have I don't feel like we have an abundance of affection from women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, in terms of where the pendulum is at, I feel like the women are very unloving to the men. That's why, like, they don't cook. Because that's like the best way to express a love for a man. I said this on my show the other night. I'm like, the most beautiful words a woman could say is like, I made you dinner. I made you cookies.
Yeah.
Because that is like an act of love. And I think that, you know, speaking as maybe from a different generation, the way that men feel now is like, you know, women are not really providing too much. They expect so much from the men. They want the man to be rich and provide.
Yeah.
They want the man to be fit and a real leader and a real man. They also want to split the chores with the man. They want the man to do half the laundry and half the dishes and things like that. And it's like, so what do you do all day? You're on TikTok, you're like doom scrolling and eating Cheetos. Like what actually are you providing in the relationship? So I just feel like in terms of the deficit, it's like women are very emboldened. They're too, I think, assertive, always giving their opinions, always critiquing, always, you know, I think that they're very bold right now. And I think, and sarcastic, I think that's a big reason why they're not very attractive.
I get it. All I would say is that in a happy marriage, all of that goes away. There's no art.
Yeah, Tucker. We're trying to get there, though. Like, Tucker's over here talking about like the end destination. Let's say the end destination or winning a Super Bowl. I'm telling you, winning a Super Bowl feels amazing. Yeah, but there's a lot of steps that have to be taken before we just can appreciate winning a Super Bowl, because we actually have to win it first. So a lot, and even so big bro, Steve bro, we've got to make family great again. And we talked about this, or maybe I put up a video of this the other day. If we're playing if we're on a team, let's take, for instance, like my freshman year in college or sophomore year, freshman or sophomore year, we had the worst defense in school history. Like the worst defense in school history. I think we gave up more points and yards than any other defense in school history. The offense did very well. Does it make sense if our goal is for the team to do well? Does it make sense for us to go in and yell at the entire team and say, you guys are doing terrible, you're the worst team in school history, and go down that line? And you may do a certain percentage of that so you don't have to place blame directly, right? But ultimately, in order to address the problem, we actually have to address where the problem lies, right? So if the defense is not performing for whatever reason, let's say that they didn't let the defense practice. Let's say that the defense, they didn't let us practice because we could only have the field at a certain time. And we gave the offense the time to practice for an hour and a half, and the defense, we only had a half an hour to practice. Now, it's perfectly understanding why the defense would not perform as well as the offense. But we actually have to go into it and say the defense is the problem here. Let's address the defense. Oh, one of the problems is the defense isn't getting enough time to prepare. The defense isn't getting coached up in the ways that it needs to be coached up. The defense doesn't understand the role that they need to play because they never had anybody show them. The coaches didn't have time to teach them. Is that okay to say? Like in any business, in any other thing, like removing ego and just being able to say, yo, you ever been in a situation where I've been on certain teams where you tell a player where you got to walk on eggshells and say, hey, you messed up here a little bit because the coaches are scared of what that player is going to say, the fragile ego. And then you're on other teams where it's like, yo, you fucked up on that play. And you know what that player can respond and say? Yo, that's my bad. I got you on the next one. And it's done. We can't even, if you can't be critical of something, then how can we figure out a way to improve it? We can be critical of men. You can tell a man that they're broke, that they got a little pee-pee. You could tell a man that their breath stinks, that they're ugly. You can tell a man those things and nobody will trip. But can you tell a woman those things? You can't critique one part of the team. So how can we improve in that area? Yeah. Come on. Like, I just want the team to do better. Like, I'm not making it all about you. Let's sit down. Tell me the areas. Let's lay out the areas that I need to improve in. I actually welcome that criticism. I want to do better. I want at the end of the season for the rest of my team to look at me and say, yo, he was 100% committed, locked in. He gave everything he had to perform this role to help this team win. Give me the constructive criticism. What are some things that I could do better? Am I helping to provide the right? Am I working well with? While the other side grows up, never getting criticized, never being held accountable. We say this over and over. If you never played sports as a woman, then you may go through your entire life before you get in a relationship where you're not held accountable in the dynamics with a man. You're never held accountable. Society doesn't hold you accountable. You never played sports, so your coaches don't hold you accountable. You never played sports, so other players on the team never held you accountable. Your father wasn't around. He never held you accountable. He just wanted to treat you like his best friend. Then you get in a relationship with a man, and not to say that either party, a man's holding a woman accountable, because I know y'all have issues with that, or saying that a woman's holding a man accountable. You're held accountable by the role. So you've never been in a position where your accountability is based on, or is in a situation with a man. And who's going to call out the other one? If there's two people in a relationship, if there's two people on a team, then obviously one person is going to be relied on to be able to give proper constructive criticism on the other. So you could say that that's holding them accountable. Shouldn't a husband and a wife hold each other accountable? Like, isn't that an amazing thing? Making sure that you're both living up to a certain standard and performing in a certain role that gives the relationship the best chance to succeed. It's not what you experienced growing up, Tucker. It's not reality. I'm telling y'all, yo. And this is why it takes people to be honest and not just pander, because I could easily get up here and say, women are just submissive. They'll say, hey, if your woman ain't submissive, if she ain't giving you everything that she give you, then that just means that you're not holding up your end. Yeah, you can miss me with that. All that ego, my ego is not that big. Okay, I don't need to put up a front and act like something because I'm trying to portray something. No, I'm telling y'all, as somebody like, if I'm just being honest with y'all, I've been that guy for a very long time. When it comes to high school, when it comes to college, like, I'm just being totally, I'm being transparent with y'all to prove a point. Maya's been rocking with me since the time whether it was high school, whether it was prep school. Maya, go bring out the yearbook. Bring out my yearbook. Hype me up. In my yearbook, you know what they created? A superlative. They created a category in prep school and had the category of the man. And I'm being a little clownish. Been that guy for a very long time. Made it to the NFL. How many people make it to the NFL? was able to successfully transition out of the NFL. Y'all see me here every day. I have a pretty flexible life. I work my ass off though, but I still have I'm very fortunate to have a very flexible life. Maya takes all this shit for granted. She's saying, oh, wow, in the back. I'm kind of joking. But what I'm saying is, I'm kind of joking. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter what you accomplish. People get used to it. And if you have a society and a culture mixed with your upbringing that doesn't teach you how to properly appreciate somebody, that you should appreciate something, you tend to get used to it. She think this is prep school. Like, yo, she can't even, like, you feel me? Do you understand how these Eastern European women look at me? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Hey, yo. Oh, do you understand what these Colombian, Venezuelan, Argentinian women in Miami, how their perspective on this? Meanwhile, I gotta get bullied. She over here walking in rooms talking about, nah, don't not say it because you heard me walk in the hallway. Like, what? Yo, let's finish up this interview and get out of here. It's already, wow, it's 10 o'clock. Hold on. Let me pivot real quick because this conversation is almost done. You know how I feel? So, all right. So this is, I don't want to take shots at, I got to play this video. I got to play this clip. So we put up this clip and part of it's funny, but part of it's more so like a real thing. Part of this is a very real thing. And we live in a world where you have to celebrate. Like, think about how just big women are celebrated, just from that standpoint. Like, women are perfect the way they are, no matter how they come to the table. They can expect whatever results, no matter how they look, no matter how much money they make, anything. There's no men. It's very clear. Hey, you got to look a certain way. You got to make a certain amount of money. You got to, be respected amongst a certain crowd. Like all these different things, like we're held to this standard. Let me just play this funny clip. I hope nobody takes offense to it. My apology in advance if somebody does. I'm not playing it with that intent. And of course, when people say that, they know it's going to offend people. But let's just
Nazi Germany who wouldn't salute Hitler.
Hold on.
We need to do more we need to make sure Germany like Hitler.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Revolutionary guy. I'm like that guy in Nazi Germany who wouldn't salute Hitler. Big women are like Hitler. It's like we live in a totalitarian state and everyone has to say like, hail women, hail big woman. We have to like I pledge allegiance to my girlfriend. I pledge allegiance to my wife. And I will give her anniversary gifts and elaborate proposals. And to her mother, for which she stands, one household under her watchful eye. Like, this is the country. And I'm like that guy in the crowd that wouldn't salute Hitler.
I'm not saluting him.
I'm like, do you ever see that picture where everybody's saluting Hitler and there's that one guy who's like, nah, that's me. No, I will not pledge allegiance to my girlfriend. I think she should pledge allegiance to me.
All right, I'm not going to get into it too much. That's a good clip that y'all should actually take a look at. But I have no problem pledging my allegiance to Maya. I have no problem pledging my allegiance. I have no problem with guys pledging their allegiance to whoever it is that they choose is going to be their girlfriend, partner, wife. The problem is we live in a society that doesn't teach women how to, or doesn't teach them that they should pledge their allegiance back and value the man. Matt Million. So Matt, we go live every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Tap in with us. Tap in with us. I got a question. That's the question, Corey. Yo, and hold on. Yo, get real used to this brother right here, C. Moses. I'm just gonna say that. We got some things in the works cooking up together. Does she feel the same though? That's the entire point of this conversation that Nick was having with Tucker. Tucker seems to be coming into the conversation, and I think this is what a lot of fathers do. When they're raising their daughters, they forget, oh, I'm raising her to eventually be with a guy. So let me look at it from my perspective. What are some of the qualities? What is the perspective on life? What are the commitments? What are the structure that I should create when I'm trying to raise my daughter? Men, we understand the things. It's very clear. We talked about this before. The reason why women are growing up and seeming like more of men, it's because the qualities that men bring to the table, life is going to teach you. If you're by yourself as a woman, you're going to figure out how to protect and provide for yourself. So those qualities are like, you're going to learn those qualities by default almost. Now, not all of them, especially from a leadership standpoint, being a benevolent leader, but you're going to learn certain aspects of it. And it's actually going to take you away from perhaps the feminine things that you should be learning. That's the world that we're growing up in. We think we're doing our daughters a service, but we're doing them a huge disservice when we're raising them this way, in my opinion. And if we're being honest, this is more prevalent in Black relationships. Perhaps it's just more prevalent in relationships in cultures, I should say, where the father's not in the household as much. Because when a father's in the household, you can't fake the funk. When a father's in the household, you can't fake. You can't tell your daughter, oh, you should be able to do this, you should be able to do. When a father's in the household, oh yeah, we know you're going down the street. Oh, when you're not happy with mom, we know you're hitting the bar. Well, you're staying out a little late, Dad. What's going on? Or we also know when you're locked in and committed to the relationship. It's real easy when a father's not in the household to speak from this standpoint of, well, you should do that. Hey, my daughter should, hey, it's all on her. You know, she should be able to do whatever she wants. You know, go out, enjoy your life, babe, have fun. What? Where's the purpose? Where are they being taught their purpose? Where do these things come into play? They're not learning it. Where are they going to learn it from society? You think they're going to learn it at schools? When they go to college, these liberal campuses? Where are they ever going to learn these things? You think life is just going to teach them? No, life is just going to harden us. Just like Tucker conveniently talked about that when it comes to men. When we're treated a certain way, you know, we get stuck and rigid in our stances. Don't you think women are the same way? When they got to go out there and protect and provide, and they've had relationships that have failed time over time, there's a built-up resentment. We have a built-up resentment when it comes to men and women in American culture. We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. Oh man. All right, I'm going to try to speed through the end of our program, even though this is the most important part. So we're going to do our box breathing, because you know how important it is to meditate, manifest. I need to get some breath work because it could get very weird. I was anticipating having this conversation with all of y'all, thinking that Maya would be at work. So she worked from home today. So now I got to deal with this shit in real life. And I thought that I'd have about 8 hours until she got back home. So, and I thought that I could, get my videos out. I've been delayed a little bit on some of the videos. Now I got to deal with this other person. The point is the point. All right. The level of confidence in some of these, she's yelling, "Don't be scared" in the background. The amount of confidence. Yeah, I'm in a very humbling mood today. I'm humbling people all day today. So I just notice the energy when I get on this show tomorrow AM. Notice the energy. Notice the feel. Notice I may be sitting up a little higher. I don't know. I may raise the seat a little bit. But all right, box breathing, 4-second inhale, 4-second pause, 4-second exhale, 4-second pause. On every inhale, we're feeling that energy being inhaled in our body in a positive manner, all right? All the positive energy, the motivating, the inspiring energy. And then on the exhale, we're getting rid of all the limiting energy, the challenging energy, anything that makes us not think of ourselves as superheroes that can commit to anything and accomplish it if we're willing to put the right sacrifice, effort, and intelligence behind it. So box breathing, if you're in a safe place, close your eyes. Let's make sure that we're taking this seriously. All right, we're going to start on our inhale. Remember, every inhale, we're inhaling positive energy. 4-second inhale, ready, begin. Pause. Hold your breath. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. All right, on this next inhale, get all that positive energy in. Inhale. Hold. On this exhale, releasing the last bit of that limiting negative energy. Ready, go. Hold. All right. If you heard some noise in the background, it's because apparently my meditation, the box breathing, is not respected by everybody in the household. I hear people moving around, not taking the time to meditate, not taking the time. She said she's making me breakfast. Well, good. What's for breakfast? Biscuits, potatoes, and mushroom bacon. Please make the mushroom bacon extra crispy. Fellas, don't stand for less than. All right? The society, when men settle, our society fails. When men settle, our society fails. All right? Hold yourself to the highest standard and make sure that you demand that from the people around you as well. All right? Oh, man, y'all know what we come here to do. Elevate on purpose, both from an intentional standpoint as well as raising our standards to become the best leaders we can become. All right? To make sure that we're growing into the people that we need to grow into, developing the skills, developing the knowledge, whatever that may be, in order to accomplish and feel confidently going into a lot of these audacious goals that we set for ourselves, addressing these big goals that we set for ourselves. You got to be confident to stand on principle sometimes. You got to be confident in yourself to stand on principle sometimes. And with that confidence comes a whole lot of work, because if things shift, fellas, if your foundation shifts and something happens and you can't protect and provide, they start looking at you different. They start looking at you differently. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. When I got cut, Maya didn't wanted nothing to now. Let me stop. When I got injured, was she there in the hospital? No. Oh man. All right. Strength and honor, onward and upward. Y'all know what it is when I say get to that bag. For those that don't, that's focusing on or making sure that we identify the things that we're going to focus on that are going to serve as our compass, that are going to serve as our guardrails as we strive and for the most efficient trajectory to live in our purpose and strive for that purposeful abundance. And we know that all those things that we focus on are ultimately going to add up into what's going to be our impact on this world that we like to call our personal legend. So you got to figure out what's in your bag. The things that I like to focus on in my bag: peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, integrity in everything we do, and balance. All right. And balance. Look, purpose over. What does Dr. Umar say? Purpose over punani. Doesn't he say that? Yeah. Living your purpose, fellas. Don't let them steal your joy. Don't let them steal your happiness. Don't let them steal your purpose. And don't let them ever allow you to look at yourself as less than the amazing superhero that you are. And I'm joking a bit. Look, all seriousness, we each have a role to play. Let's both commit to fulfilling our role as best as possible so that we can look at the person that we're going to spend the rest of our life with and build with, as that best friend, as that number one rider, whatever it is. When you think of that, your favorite Bonnie and Clyde song or whoever it's written by, you'll think of that person. All right. I think all of us would prefer going through life with a husband, a wife that we feel very comfortable calling our best friend. And it's based on the action and the commitment that we have to each other. So I don't want anything that we discussed previously on this show to take away from that mindset, because that is what's most important. And that's what I respect in relationships that I see in my life, that I'm very privileged to be around some people that have some amazing relationships. All right. So when I see Steve write his opinions on certain things, it holds more weight to me, just being totally honest with y'all. And hopefully after what I say, it'll hold more weight to y'all, is when I've actually seen it in real time and you see it and you're like, you know what? I want a relationship like that. I can appreciate that relationship. So for parents, I know I've been extremely blessed to be able to be in an environment where you get to see the ins and outs, the dynamics of parents working together with the overall goal of elevating the family and providing the best opportunities to the kids. So I know how important that was for me in my upbringing. And obviously everything's not always perfect, but you learn in the imperfections as well. You get to learn the different dynamics between men and women, between a husband and a wife, when you keep the main thing, and make sure that as parents, we're leading. So they're leading. So hopefully I can do the same when I get into that position myself. Knock on wood, inshallah, God willing, that happens. So I'll see y'all on the next one. Did we get any? Hold up. Bro just conceived a child this morning. He's in a good ass mood. Nah. I didn't just conceive a child, man. The jokes that could come, the jokes that are coming to mind right now. Let me leave it here. Matt Millions just wrote, no, Matt. See, now y'all getting a little bit too much. No, I'm practicing abstinence right now to take my power back in the dynamics. No, let me stop. Let me get out of here. I gotta go. Steve wrote, I appreciate you and Maya. You are the real deal here for OG. Yo, love y'all. Appreciate y'all as always. I saw somebody wrote, Finn wrote, strength and honor. Let's continue to build. Like on your way out. And hopefully I'll see y'all tomorrow, because it means a lot to me. And I hope it means a lot to y'all to be able to have these combos. I'll see y'all tomorrow, bright and early, 8 a.m.